Hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to Back Chat. Welcome to Jaureguiberry, your yoga for scoliosis community. Happy New Year! We made it into 2022, and it's nice to be back. I had a little bit of a break. Just took some time out to be with the family, really, and spend some quality time together. Not that we could do very much, of course. Thank you, COVID. But we had a nice time and just took it easy, basically. But I'm back now, and I just taught my first Yoga for Scoliosis class of the year, which was lovely. So that's for my Shine members, and it's happening every Wednesday. You can pay for a drop-in as well if you ever want to join us. Then feel free to do that, and you can just go to my website and then book yourself in. So if you are here, what we're doing today is I'm going to do a little bit of an open Q&A, and I'm going to answer questions generally about yoga for scoliosis, or if you have any questions about the practice transformation, which is starting on the 16th of January. So if 2022 is the year where you want to really look after your back and really get serious with your practice, then make sure you sign up and you join us for that. It's called the practice transformation because we're basically changing up our regular yoga practice. Don't worry if you've never done yoga before, you can still join in, of course, and all the poses are very, very much accessible to anyone. You don't have to have any previous yoga experience at all. But if you are a regular practitioner, then really what you're learning is how to adjust your practice to your body and your scoliosis. So I hope that you can join me for that. You can find all the links in the bio, of course. So if you are here live, make sure to come and say hello. Let me know where you're from. Let me know what your experience is with scoliosis, with yoga. If you have any questions, this is for you. This is your time to ask. And those of you who are watching this on YouTube right now, you can always, if you're ever wanting to kind of catch up afterwards on this back chat, you can catch it on Spotify or your Apple Podcast app as well. So these are other great ways to, if you're just listening to it, because at the moment I'm just talking basically. There's no yoga posing going on right now. Okay, Laura is saying hello. Hi, Laura. Nice to see you in our practice earlier on. Hope you enjoyed it. And we've got Sarah here. She's asking, what exercises can I do specifically for only one side to correct scoliosis? Lower thoracolumba left scoliosis, higher thoracic right scoliosis. How do I strengthen only the lower left core? This is a very, very difficult question, and there are different approaches to this, I would say. And if you look into the work of Dr. Lauren Fishman, he has been kind of researching with kind of single yoga poses that you only do on one side to reduce your scoliosis curve. Now, if you are interested in that approach, I would suggest that you get in touch with him, because he's always updating his research, and I know he's taken a few different approaches nowadays rather than just practicing a side plank just on one side. But from what I remember, it was the side plank that you do on the convex side. However, again, please make sure that you check with him if you are interested in that approach. I find personally what works much better is if you not do yoga poses one-sided, but you might want to do them slightly differently on one side to the other, because the body needs strengthening overall. So you might have one side that feels stronger. You might have one side that kind of feels that there is more tension and that needs to release. And then you might have one side that almost feels like it's not quite there. So both sides and front and back are benefiting from yoga and from exercise and from movement. So I would be very, very hesitant just to do something one side. There are exceptions. Sometimes I do recommend this, but generally I would still say do things on both sides, but do them slightly differently. So what you want to always keep in mind is that you want to make sure that you're not shortening your concave side anymore. So we've got a lower left thoracolumba scoliosis here. So your concave side would be the right side. So you want to make sure that you're not shortening that if you're doing any type of kind of activity or strengthening or anything like that. So you always want to make sure that you're keeping that elongated really, and that the left side is not kind of popping out even more. So you want to think about drawing this in towards the midline, and then you can do anything. You can do your side plank, your warrior 1, your warrior 2, your warrior 3 on both sides really. You're just doing them slightly differently, and to me that kind of makes a lot more sense, especially if you're talking about the core, because how do I strengthen only the left lower core? Can we actually even isolate what we're doing that specifically? No, I don't think so. We do, whenever you do something, your whole body is going to be involved, no matter what it is. So even if you're just lifting your left leg up, there's all sorts of things going on. It's not just the muscles around the leg, or depending on what position you're in, your left abdominal muscles. No, there's a lot more going on. So this is why I'm a firm believer in learning how to correct or how to adjust your posture, that you're not hanging out in your scoliosis all the time. And this is very tempting, right? We all have this preferred way of sitting, standing, and all of that. And you might even notice when you're relaxing or when you're just sitting down that if you're tired, you're possibly going into your scoliosis even more. Maybe you're rotating, maybe you're collapsing on one side. So it's really, really important that you learn how to get out of that habit and out of that pattern, and then take it into your different movements. So Sarah, let me know if it's probably not quite the answer that you were looking for. But this is what I would say about this, because it gets very complicated with scoliosis, right? And especially you're already saying you've got a higher thoracic right scoliosis. So it always depends where exactly in the spine your scoliosis curvature is, how much rotation is there even a compensating curve lower down? So you might even have a lower lumbar compensating curve going to the right. So it becomes very, very complicated. Okay, so Sunita is saying, I have a right lumbar curve which has improved from 29 to 24 degrees, and I do yoga for both sides. Brilliant, fantastic, that's amazing. And Sarah is saying, thanks so much, it makes sense. Okay, good, I'm glad it makes sense. And yes, when we talk about correction, don't like the word, because we are not to be corrected. There's nothing wrong with us, right? We just want to optimize what we've got. When we talk about this, and especially kind of reducing the cop angle and all of that, usually what we're talking about is the postural element of the scoliosis. So the bones don't change shape. The bones are what they are. So if there is scoliosis in those bones, that's always going to be there. But there is a postural element, mainly the muscles, the soft tissue, that are, because the spine is curved into one direction, pulling you with age, with gravity, and all of that, further into your scoliosis, and that is something that we can correct, and that's something where we can see improvements. We can see improvements in the Cobb angle as well sometimes, but it shouldn't be kind of, you shouldn't get too obsessed with the numbers and with the Cobb angle. So I've asked a spinal surgeon, I remember a few years ago, and he said, to be honest, when there's x-rays taken, there's about a 10-degree error margin that is kind of acceptable. So 10 degrees, that's quite a lot, right? So that means maybe you have an x-ray in the morning and then you have an x-ray in the evening, and there could actually be a 10-degree difference, right? So just from I don't know, that different measurements even taken, or different times of the day. We're always a little bit taller in the morning than we are in the evening. So I would not get too obsessed with the numbers. And yes, it's nice to see an improvement, but really what's much more important is that you feel better in your body, and that you know what you're doing. And we just had a session, obviously, with my Shine members, and some of them were saying that, you know, they start to notice things, habits in different positions all the time, right? Not just in the yoga poses, but maybe if they're sitting at their desk, or maybe if they're just kind of doing their gardening or doing things with their family, and those little habits that we have, and starting to be a little bit more aware and be a little bit more conscious of these things, and what is taking us further into the scoliosis, and what can we do to come out of the pattern. So that is really important. Good. So I hope that makes sense. Right. Maria is saying, where can I find resources for adult scoliosis and how it evolves with age? So resources in general. So I like the SSOL site, Scoliosis and Spinal Online Learning site. And that's a really, really great. This is really, if you're really serious about this topic, if you really want to dive in, they have got some really amazing webinars about different subjects, and, you know, bracing, congenital scoliosis, adult scoliosis, of course, adolescent scoliosis. So they are, if you're looking for kind of the background information, they are a great site, and there's great learning there if you really want to go deep. Scoliosis Association is a great one. We've got a Scoliosis Research Society as well. That's another one that you could look up. So there's all the kind of basic terms and terminology, all of that, statistics are explained there. So they're really good resources as well. And then obviously, if you want to kind of get a little bit more practical, kind of get a little bit more stuck in, especially if you're obviously into yoga, then I offer a 4 weeks course. So kind of, it's like an introduction basically to yoga for scoliosis or yoga with scoliosis. And we do go into some of those terms and the way that scoliosis, kind of understanding scoliosis a little bit more as well. And most of the people that are in the course, they are adults, of course. So yes, adult scoliosis, and that always depends on when you were diagnosed, basically. So if you're talking about adult scoliosis, Maria, this could kind of mean two things. It could either mean that you had scoliosis and it was never detected. It kind of just progressed, and it developed, and then at some point you were diagnosed with scoliosis. That's called adult scoliosis. But it also could be that it just developed later on, and that's a degenerative type of scoliosis. That usually happens after menopause. That's also called adult scoliosis at the end of the day. So there's a little bit more to it. And yes, the age of diagnosis is really important. And then what's happening with progression, of course. And with adults, we have to be a little bit more mindful over a certain age, especially. Because if there is generally kind of the support and the strength is lacking, then we can start to progress a little bit easier. So this is why that movement and exercise is really, really important. Okay, so Maria is saying this course sounds perfect. I had a brace as an adolescent. Okay, great. So you're talking about adolescent idiopathic scoliosis as an adult, probably. So we always have to differentiate a little bit, because it's quite different when people are diagnosed later on in life, and that could mean a completely different thing. But yes, so the course would be very, very relevant for you in that case, of course. If you had a brace, especially in your teenage years, and then maybe it improved a little bit, right? And maybe you didn't have any problems for a while. But then usually we get to a point where we know it's time to do something about it, right? And we don't want to get it, we don't want it to progress, and we don't want it to get worse. And that's really what we're here to do, right? And it is really empowering, of course, to know that you don't just have to sit around and wait for the degrees to get worse until you maybe have to have surgery, because that's what nobody wants. But there are things that you can do, of course, to be active. It doesn't mean that you can always avoid surgery. Sometimes it is just necessary. But definitely there are things that you can try, and we can try movements and exercises. And what's the worst that can happen? It's not that it's going to get worse, but the worst that can happen is that nothing happens, really. So I wanted to show you a little bit. I wanted to give you a little bit of a sneak peek into the practice transformation, if you're up for that. In the meantime, of course, if you have any questions, keep them coming. I love talking to you, of course, and I love making it relevant to you. But I'm going to show you. Let me just bring it up for a moment, if that's the right one. No, let's do this one. Okay, so this is what it looks like when you're first signing up. You kind of get to this page here. So there's 10 modules, but really there's 4 kind of main ones, as you can see. But you have a little welcome video. We take you through quite an extensive health questionnaire as well, just to make sure that everything is okay, and if there's any other information you need, or if you need to check with your doctor or anything like that. And then you've got the different modules here. So we start with the body awareness, and then we've got release and lengthen, and then core strengthening, and then adjusting your practice. So I'm going to go into one of these ones. Let's go into the second module here. So this is kind of what it looks like. So you always have a lecture part, a lecture video, which is kind of more the background information that you need. Then we've got a practice. Whoops, I got kicked out there. Then we've got a practice, or a practice video. We've got some practice sheets that you can print out, that you can download. And then you've got this one for this module, you've got a little bit of an extra exercise to do here. And then we always put the recordings of the live sessions in there as well. So in total, we've got 4 live sessions. So at the end of each module, there is a 90-minute live session. And let's see if we've got the dates somewhere here for you to see. let's see, view product. Oh, no, it's not in here. Okay, well, if you go to the main sign up page, you will see all the dates and the times for the live sessions. So the first one, I believe, is the 23rd of January, and then they're kind of happening every Sunday at different times. They're all, it's great, obviously, if you can make them live, because then I can give you suggestions. I can have a look at you actually doing the yoga poses and give you some suggestions there. If you can't make it live, they are always recorded, and I always encourage people to send me all their questions beforehand, x-rays maybe as well, if you do want to share them, and then I can answer all your questions in the course. So that's kind of what it looks like. Right. Good. I was just checking that I've answered those questions here. So there were a few questions that were sent in beforehand. So one of them was, what if I don't have a lot of time? How much time is actually needed to take part, to do the course? So you saw there's a short lecture to watch, and you've got about a 30 to 40 minute practice video per week, and then I encourage you to practice every day for 15 minutes. So if you can find 15 minutes per day and do your 3 yoga poses, then you're doing really, really well. And in the long run, that's going to help you much more than trying to cram in a huge yoga practice every day and maybe getting kind of exhausted, getting frustrated because you can't manage to do it. So 15 minutes a day is what you need, and then obviously attending the live sessions if you can, and watching the short lectures and the practice video as well. So that's kind of how much time it takes. I've had people who weren't able to do it kind of live with us that were then doing it afterwards in their own time. So that's absolutely possible as well. So it's not like everything disappears after four weeks. You keep all the access to all the practices, of course. And I just spoke to someone actually in the Shine membership. He was like, I always go back to the course. So she had done the course previously, and she goes back to those practices over and over again. So they stay with you. You don't lose access to them. Okay, so Dana is asking, can you help me understand why it depends on adolescence versus adult if we ultimately have ended up with the scoliosis that has led to where we are now? Okay, I think you might have to clarify your question a little bit more. Why it depends on adolescence versus adult. Do you mean the term adolescent scoliosis or adult scoliosis? I think that's what you mean. Does it matter now when you're an adult if you had adolescent scoliosis or adult scoliosis? If that's what you mean, then it does slightly different. There is a difference, yes. So degenerative scoliosis is it's got something to do with degeneration of the discs and of the vertebrae and of the bones. It's got something to do with compression. So everything is kind of compressed, and it generally causes more pain generally. Also, what is important to know, and this is kind of going into the nitty-gritty of it, with adolescent scoliosis, so when it developed during this teenage years, it's something that developed during growth, right? So degenerative is because it's degeneration, and the adolescent scoliosis develops while growing. So it's in its kind of mechanics, it's slightly different. And people that have an idiopathic adolescent scoliosis also have something usually that is called RASO, R-A-S-O, and it's a relative anterior spinal overgrowth. That's what it stands for. I don't want to bore you with all the nitty-gritty stuff, of course, but it just means that generally they are a little bit more in extension, meaning in a back bend of the spine, than a forward bend. Now, you don't have this with degenerative scoliosis and with adult onset scoliosis. That's what the proper term is. So this is just something, and maybe, yes, for you as a yoga practitioner, maybe that doesn't matter too much. But for me, that would matter a little bit, because I would kind of look at a little bit more of your pattern and your posture in general, and it might be slightly different focus. So there might be slightly different things that we would do or that we wouldn't do. Now, Dana, let me know if this has completely confused you now, or if that was helpful at all. So it's not, of course, for you, what is important is what you are now and how you've ended up there. But if we are kind of going really into the specifics, then I would like to know when it first developed. So there would be a difference there. Okay. Lorena saying, any tips on relaxing tight muscles, left thoracic, right lumbar scoliosis? Lately, my upper back on the left side is super tight. Any tips on relaxing tight muscles, left thoracic, right lumbar scoliosis? Okay, so generally what happens very often is that the convex side, and I'm completely generalizing there, and this is might not be true for you, but this is what I see very often, that the convex side causes more problems. It's a bit louder. It complains a little bit more. So it's tight. It's also kind of in this long, stuck, tensed position. And the other side is usually not kind of participating very much. So what I would say to that is first of all, I would start to avoid stretching of the tight muscles. So if this is your convex side, you don't want to stretch it out even more. You want to kind of soften and release it. And how do you do that? Well, that's the difficult part. I practice a lot of restorative yoga, where we use a lot of blocks and bolsters, not so much blocks, more bolsters and cushions and blankets, bringing the body in supported positions, breathing, releasing, practicing your pranayama, your breathing exercises in different positions. That could be side lying, it could be lying on your front, it could be lying on your back, to release some of that tightness. And then obviously what we want to do as well is to start working those muscles that haven't been working, so that the tightness can start to or the tight muscles can start to back off a little bit, because they are overworked, they're doing too much. So what we want to do is kind of bring all the attention and the awareness to the forgotten parts of the body. And this is why, again, why variety, why different types of exercises, yoga practice is super, super important. We don't always want to do the same thing, because we want to make sure that we keep those connections from the body to the brain and vice versa. Because at some point, if we don't use them, we lose them. Not physically losing a part of your body, but losing part of that map, of that connection with the brain. So this is why, again, it's very, very important, kind of bringing me back to the one-sided approach. I think this is why, again, the two-sided approach is really beneficial, and it's important to work as many different parts of the body and in as many different ways as possible as well. So I'm hoping, Lorena, that this is helpful to you. So upper back, I do have obviously lots of practice videos as well on my YouTube channel if you want to have a look on there. There are some, I think there is a mid-thoracic type of practice as well. But obviously in your specific case, I would need a little bit more information to recommend anything particular. But definitely the restorative is a great place to start, and then, you know, mobilizing, thinking about creating some small movements. And I would not go into stretching straight away. So that's also, so you're saying thank you. Okay, so I assume that was helpful. Thank you. If you have a look at one of the previous back chats about stretching, you might find that interesting, where I was talking to physiotherapist Chris Cubb, and that stretching is not always, even though we might think that it's the solution, it might not be the best thing to do, and it might work for different reasons than what we think. And the different reason being that it's a nervous system thing rather than a physical, that the body is, or the muscles are actually getting longer. So just something to keep in mind. But let's go back to this, kind of to the general overview here. I mean, we are kind of building on this, and you see it already. So we're starting with the body awareness, because it's really important for you to understand what's going on in your body, and really taking some time to understand your scoliosis, no matter when it started, if it started as a child, as an adult. What are kind of your symptoms? How does the right side behave differently from the left side? And then we kind of go into the release and the lengthen. So Lorena, again, this would be kind of where I would start with, would be the releasing of the tightness. And then we can start to strengthen, right? And then we can start to strengthen the core and really get into building almost that core set of muscles. So somebody said they did wear a brace when they were a teenager. We don't want to wear a brace, right, as adults? No, I don't, definitely. But what if I can teach my muscles to kind of give me that support, to be that brace, so that I don't need anything external to hold me into place, to hold me in that specific shape. So that's really what we're trying to do. So it's kind of getting out of your scoliosis pattern, understanding how you can do that, and then teaching your body to stay there as well, and not just to collapse every time back into your scoliosis. So let me know if that makes sense. And that's kind of in a nutshell what we're doing, on what we're working on. And of course it's a journey. It's not an overnight process. It takes a long time, and we always learn something new. So I was diagnosed when I was a child, and really I got into yoga in my 20s. I'm how old am I? 41, and I'm learning all the time, right? There's always, and things change as well. Things change with different age. If you go through pregnancy, if you go through menopause, you always have to keep adjusting and fine-tuning and changing things. So the earlier you start kind of taking responsibility for yourself and learning what works for you and how you can help yourself, the better, really, because then you don't need anyone else. You can do your practice whenever you want to, and yeah, you've got your kind of your toolbox of lots of things that you can apply. So I hope that this makes sense. For those of you who want to kind of get a little bit of a taste of what it's like practicing with me, and who want to who are maybe not sure, because I had someone asking as well. I'm 68 years old, and have arthritis and osteoporosis, can I still do this course? Yes, of course you can. You might not do every single thing, but that's the whole point of the practice, that we find the things that work for us. So if you do want to get a little bit of a taster of what it's like, then I'm offering a free session on Sunday that you can sign up for. So you'll find it in the description, and we're going to do a 30-minute practice followed by a Q&A, and it's via Zoom, so I can see you can see me, and it's a really nice way of kind of getting an idea of what it's like being in the course, and what it's like kind of starting to adjust your yoga practice to your specific scoliosis curve as well. So make sure to sign up for that. It's free. Again, it's on Sunday, on the 9th of January, happening at 4 p.m. my time, which is GMT. So I will record it as well. So if you want to catch it later on, you can just sign up and then receive the recording afterwards. But yeah, it would be nice to see you there as well, rather than this here where I can't see anyone, but I can see your comments, and that's a Zoom call, so we can see each other and connect. So make sure you sign up for that. If you're already like, yes, I'm in, I want to go on the practice transformation, feel free to sign up for that as well. Registration closes on Sunday evening. And yes, so you've got to, or maybe you do both, right? Maybe you come for the free practice and then you do the course as well. In any way, it would be really, really nice to get to know you, to see you there, and to work together. So next week here on Backchat, we've got the lovely Celeste Pereira. So I just want to mention that before I sign off, who's going to be talking about hypermobility. So very often, very much connected, hypermobility and scoliosis. So do make sure you tune in for that. She's really fun. She's really, really good. And yes, I'm going to leave it at this. I hope that this was helpful for you guys. And see you hopefully for the free practice on Sunday. And if not, I'll see you next week for another Backchat. Bye, everyone.